Greetings, YouTube. Recently there was a thread on one of the message boards that I read, and the person starting the thread was asking what people would suggest as the best first beginning module for a new GM. First level adventure, starting out, the system didn't matter. What would be the best thing to take a GM from a complete newbie, walk them through the process of being a game master, and get them started on their career? And my suggestion was the Outland Press module for the Mutant Epoch game, The Mall of Doom. My one reservation about that recommendation was that it is one of the darkest, most depressing gaming modules I have ever read. Because it is. However, it is also incredibly good and very interesting. Now, I can make a new recommendation. Beyond Red Crater, which I think is just as good as the Mall of Doom, but isn't half as dark. So it's a better recommendation, I think, for a beginning GM. Now, one of the problems with reviewing a module is I don't want to give away too much information. So I'm going to try to be as gentle as I can with this review, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's watching this. Now, obviously, from the title, Beyond Red Crater, and we'll give you a shot of the cover of a nice adventuring party made up of adventuring types, some of who are mutants and cyborgs and things like that. Obviously, there's a red crater, and it being the Mutant Epoch game, which is a post-apocalyptic in the post-apocalyptic genre, the crater is probably being created by something really nasty. So the characters have to move beyond this crater to the adventure that awaits them. And one of the things that I think is best about this module, and I think it may be slightly annoying to some advanced game masters, but it's useful for beginners, is that it explicitly lays out every single option available to the player characters. So say you're walking across a plateau, and there are going to be 4 different ways that you could do this logically. Each one has its own description. If the characters do this, this is what they see. If they go this direction, this is what they see. And it helps you see the whole layout in a much greater detail than if you were just to present the plateau and say, okay, this is what's on the plateau. Now, for an advanced GM, that's not an issue. They look at the map, they look at what's on the plateau, they go, okay, if my characters go this way, that happens that way. But starting GMs don't have that ability to take that big picture and look down on it and see clearly what could happen to the player characters. There's also a lot of things like, if the player characters do this, then NPCs will act in this way. If they've gone here first, NPCs will act in that way. Which is also really useful because it helps the new GM to keep in mind that there are things going on in the world that are not driven by the player characters. That there are machinations on the planet that have nothing to do with them. The player characters can touch on them, can affect them, but these things still go on. That's very important to remember. That everything is not a reaction to player character behavior. Some things are going on their own, and the player characters can affect it, or change it, or stop it. There are good maps, very good maps, and I was kind of reminded of was this crashed spaceship module S5 for the old for the first edition D&D? I can't remember, but it kind of reminded me of the Barrier Peaks in the style of art. I thought that was quite well done. There are illustrations of the adventurers themselves, of the world, of creatures and robots and cyborgs and things. All of them are done very well. I'm a great appreciator of Mr. McAuxlin's work. He does an excellent work in here, and it's very evocative of the old school post-apocalyptic genre that is, from Metamorphosis Alpha or Gamma World First Edition. There is a nice selection of thumbnail descriptions of NPCs, some larger, full-blown player character sheets for NPCs. There is a selection at the back of 8 full player character sheets you can just hand to people if they don't have a character of their own. There's some new creatures encountered, some new technology. there is a really nice series of potential jumping off points for future adventures. The nice places where, okay, this is where the map ends essentially, but the GM could take it in this direction. There's a nice follow-up piece at the end. Okay, if the characters had successful here, or they didn't have a success here, this is the after-action report, essentially. There's a nice little section that deals with what happens if the player characters aren't first level, because this is a first-level adventure, and how this could be used at a later date for further adventuring if things go well. Now, this is still a very dangerous module. The module suggests that everyone play 2 characters. So if you have your average 4 to 5 player group, you're looking at 8 to 10 characters, and it's likely that not everyone's going to have all of their characters make it to the end. And if you have some people who end up losing both characters, again, there are some NPCs I think you could pick up on the way that they could play, and having the little thumbnail sketches and or the more detailed ones for a couple of them would be very useful. Because a couple of them would fit right in without a problem, without revealing any additional information that the players shouldn't have. And I really like the way they handled this, and also the full-blown sheets, whether they're the NPCs or PCs, are written in a handwritten style, so it looks like a player character sheet. But a nice little detail is that next to every mutation or ability or power, there's a little number. So that little number tells you what page to look up, actually not what page, but which entry it is in the main rulebook. So if it says, this mutation 122, you look at the little 122, and mutation 122 is what you need to go look up if you want more details, because it's just the mutation name on the player character sheet. Which is a nice little detail, and I appreciate that, because it makes looking things up so much easier. It's the appendixes in the back I thought were quite well done. I think the maps have quite a bit of playability. They're very well done, very well drawn. Overall, this is a very solid first edition module. Now, I've had multiple requests to review this, so I'm hoping that I'm covering everything you need to know without spoiling anything, because I don't want to spoil anything. And I have to say that the beginning entry for the player characters is a little on the cheesy side. It fits in with the how adventurers start their career trope, which is so common to science fiction and fantasy. But I thought it was a smidge on the cheesy side, and I thought a GM, even a beginning GM who didn't want to use it, could easily tweak it. And there's a suggestions at the back how to do that to suit their particular game. And there is the possibility, if things really don't go well, for what is quite possibly the most spectacular TPK I have ever read in any module in the entire history of my gaming hobby. And that's since 1978. So for that alone, Mr. McAuslin, kudos to you.